Welcome to the Leafy podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow.
Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome to Leafy Podcast. It's Jennifer and Brian. We're so excited to have you guys here today. Today we have someone who has the most interesting background. They hold an MBA in technology management, a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. They're they've been an inventor or co-inventor on over 10 patents, published 6 books, 20 years of experience bringing innovative products to market. And over the past 3 years, they've been a reluctant PR maven at JSY PR and Marketing, a full service PR and marketing firm that specializes in professional athletes, startups, and nonprofits. So please let us give a big welcome, because we have so many questions, for Jarie Bolander. Hey, Jarie.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Wow, it sounds like I just can't focus on pretty much anything in my life. So
I think we'll probably be here for about 3 hours. I think.
They're just kidding. They're just kidding. We're going to try to pack it all in a good lunchtime.
Keep it packaged. So yeah, absolutely. First I'd like to understand more about your book, The Entrepreneur Ethos. Could you give us kind of an overview of what you talk about in it?
Yeah, sure. So The Entrepreneur Ethos is about how to build a more ethical, resilient, and inclusive entrepreneur community. And I know you guys, I don't remember if it was podcast episode 2 or 3, we're talking about the best time to be an entrepreneur is right now, with businesses slowing down and not a lot of people are starting them. Yeah. And one of the reasons I wrote the book is because there's a lot of books out there about how to growth hack your way to success, and the one metric that matters, and the lean startup, and just all these things about tactically how to do stuff. But no one was talking about the internal struggle and the internal journey and the mindset and what it's like to get up every day not knowing if you're going to have a paycheck or people are actually going to buy your stuff, or, you guys know, you just name the craziness that we do as entrepreneurs. In my opinion, the toughest job, I think, in the world, because what you're doing is creating something from nothing and trying to get people to actually buy it. And that's the hardest thing in the world to do. Yeah. So I wrote the book for not only the seasoned entrepreneur, also the beginning entrepreneur, and also for the entrepreneurs' loved ones, families, and friends. When they say, "What do you do?" I just say, hand them the book. This is what I do. And it's, I tried really hard to interview a bunch of entrepreneurs that are my friends. I'm here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, kind of center of the entrepreneur universe, so to speak. And I really wanted to get to the heart of the internal struggle. When fame, fortune, prestige all go away, what keeps you up at night? What gets you up in the morning? Why are you doing what you're doing? And that's what's in the book. So
yeah. That's so true, because it's every day is an adventure, which you can take it both ways. You wake up in a cold sweat, start running, and then eventually the day goes great, and then you're happy and you go to sleep, and then you start all over the next day, it seems.
Exactly.
So, is definitely something that you need to do. And not everybody understands, what it's like to get up and have that weight on your shoulders. So I'm going to take your advice and probably start handing out that book to everybody that asks me what I do, because even if
I would really appreciate that. And also have him, also have him give a 5-star rating on Amazon would be even better.
Good.
But
that's right.
Always be hustling on that for sure. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
That's pretty fascinating. When I think it is a great idea for that book. And my mother's an entrepreneur, so she raised 5 kids by herself as a single parent in an age when people didn't do that. My brothers and sisters are over 15 years older than me, so my mother's in her 80s now. So I was like an oops baby. So back then she got involved in staffing, right? And she worked for Snelling & Snelling. And my grandmother is like, why can't you just go be a secretary? Just go get that. You'll just have a job, you'll have that. And she tried to explain to her, there's no way, in 60 or whatever it was, I can raise kids like this. I know I can do it. But my grandparents, of course, had such fear for her. It just didn't make any sense. Well, what do? You get them a job, or why are they even paying you? They need to pay the people that got a good job, like you need to get a good job, right? And so she ended up running a company for 54 years and putting a cruise out to Halliburton and Carbide, and she flew all over the world. And but it was that there is a mindset that goes along with it, because the idea that you're safe at a job.
Oh yeah. Total fallacy. Total fallacy.
It's not anymore. There's no more companies that really, well, I feel like our company does.
It's because you guys are hustling every day, doing the entrepreneur mindset and living the ethos is why. That's why, right? Of course.
Yeah, I think we value people like that, but big companies, go work for a big company. Man, that is not the way it used to be at all. You're not going to be there 20, 30 years. I mean, well, look, I was just in San Francisco in February, had a great time, went to Muir Woods. We were right at the Hotel Triton, right next to the gates. Mm-hmm. And we were there for the, what is it called? Well, I was there with my best friend. She actually works as a boutique hotel consultant. So she was on property there for a long time. So I got to shack up with her. It was so much fun. The New Year's parade, y'all have the 8th largest one in the entire world.
Yeah.
And I was looking around there and thinking, wow, you've got the Google, you've got all this stuff, but then you guys are experiencing such rampant homelessness. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then we went by a Google camp of caravans. Everybody has a degree. They work for the Google annexes. So they don't get to work for the big one. So they're having to live in these teeny little pod things, clutching their degrees, barely making it.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's
crazy.
not the American dream.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of challenges with that. Yeah. And a lot of tech companies are starting to really feel the pressure to be more inclusive and be more ethical with their employees. And it is no longer a guarantee that if you've got a college degree that you'll actually get a good job. Mm-hmm. I think the only real guarantees in life are your own personal self and your ability to take what I feel are 21st century skills, and that's entrepreneurship, and find your own path. And even if you do work at a company, entrepreneurial skills are life skills. I mean, there's nothing like being able to articulate an argument, hustle up something on the side, something happens, you seize an opportunity, have the self-determination mindset. Everything is, at least in my opinion and what I've seen, really powerful way to kind of live your life. And I teach kids from the inner city, those that are at risk or underutilized, so to speak. I don't know exactly what the right PC term is. I mean, I'm in San Francisco. I should know, but I don't. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't keep up with it sometimes. But when I teach these young kids and these young adults about entrepreneurship, the first thing that they say is like, "Oh, you mean I can actually do this?" And I'm all, "Yeah, there's nothing stopping you. This is the one thing that you don't need an education for. It's all about what you're going to provide and a service to customers." And, I recently got involved and been talking with this foundation called the Brian Hamilton Foundation out of North Carolina. And Brian Hamilton, I don't know, 20 years ago, when he's an entrepreneur, famous entrepreneur. I think he's retired now and he has his own foundation. But what he did was he went into prisons and he was teaching prisoners how to be an entrepreneur, because you know what, when you get out of prison, hard to find a job.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't hire you, which is ridiculous, because you paid your debt to society. Okay, let's get you into a place where you can be productive, and no one will hire you. So he's like, well, why don't I just teach you how to be your own boss? And so those kind of things are what, I'm really passionate about. Reason why I wrote the book, reason why I do what I do. And I mean, my dad, as an example, worked for United Airlines for 30 plus years. So you should go work at United. It's such a great company. And I'm like, no, I don't really feel like doing that. September 11th came around, they retired him early. Wow. My brother was a mechanic at United. They laid him off too. Yeah. I mean, he had 30 plus years in, a dedicated, loyal employee. And they're like, you need to go. And I'm like, all right, that's never going to be me, probably because I'm unemployable. I can manage, but again, I see what you're talking about, where you're coming from. And there's, some people in the generations before us that, I mean, my my dad would say the same thing. And, and it worked for him, and that's great. And, he had a great career and he really loved what he did. But, I happen to love what I do, and what I do is what interests me. And I'm trying to build a life that completes me in a way that I have the freedom to do what I want to do and create and, leave my gift to the world. And that just happens to be what I'm doing. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
I think that that is the biggest key of entrepreneurship, because I too have spoken to at-risk youth, and the key is being of service. When you get out
100%.
of this indoctrinated mindset of just being a cog, and you can get into the spirit of what I call true capitalism, as opposed to the socialist capitalism I think that we have now, that's been overtaken by these mega monolith tech companies and mega monolith banks that all get money from the government. So the government's really kind of calling the shots. They're not, entrepreneurs, despite the fact, or they're not independent as much as, let's say, a flower shop on your local street. You can have real freedom, but you also can give back to your community and you can grow. So when you think about being an entrepreneur, I've seen like people who are like, but I'm into yoga, or I'm into being a floral thing, or I just want to cut hair or be a cosmetologist, whatever it is. The idea is, but you're using your time and talent and gift to give back. And it's okay to be valued for that and to ask for money for that, because people want that. So you don't have to be greed is good, Gordon Gekko, stab everybody in the back. It doesn't, that's not what being an entrepreneur means.
No.
It means
Wow.
digging into yourself and saying, what nourishes me, but how can I use what nourishes me to make other people happy too, whatever that gift is. And it's amazing how many gifts people have that other people are like, God, I really need that in my life. Some people, it's organizing. They can come in and just help you in your house and organize it. And you're like, oh, I feel I can finally breathe, because I got just so cluttered because I'm so busy. And they're like, this is my jam. I'm going to get this label maker and you're going to be so freaking happy.
Label makers, awesome.
Or whatever. But
cable ties and label makers, man. That's a
right.
weekend.
That's
super
need.
cool. That's all you need.
And
That's
duct
what-
tape.
yeah.
And duct tape.
Always need duct tape.
100%. Duct tape
I
forever.
need that in my life. If anyone listening is a super organizer, I'm looking around going, please God don't let me be a hoarder one day, because I've seen that show and it freaks me out, man.
Yep.
So when
100%.
it comes to the mindset and what you teach, what when someone's wanting to become an entrepreneur, what are kind of the things that you kind of want people to be prepared for when they're doing that?
Well, the first thing is, why do you want to do it? Your internal why, and that cannot be fame, fortune, prestige, and money, because this job is probably, other than maybe professional athlete, the lowest probability of success. Typically, if you want to be a unicorn, make it as $1 billion company, that's 1% of all companies, and if you look at the statistics, 9 out of 10 companies fail after the first 3 to 5 years. So it is extremely frustrating at times if you are focused on, I just want more money. Really, what I tell people is, okay, what's your gift? How you want to express that gift? And then let's see if you can make some money at it. But first and foremost, it's expression of the gift, and it's the why you're doing it. It has to be so internally in your soul that when things go wrong, you can move on without those external stimuli. And I have a lot of buddies that, made it, sold their company, running big corporations, huge exits, got a lot of venture capital money. And it can be a struggle when things hit the rough patch. And you see that constantly. In fact, these last couple of weeks, there was a couple of startups that went public and not doing so well. A couple of them had to pull. WeWork is one that had to pull their IPO because of all some shenanigans, and that's not living the ethos, right? You have to be realistic, and you also have to be doing it for the right reasons. And it's, look, there's nothing wrong with making money. Believe me, you got to eat, right? And you just do. And money's not evil, greed, I would say is probably the root of a lot of the challenges and struggles that people have, because if you've got the greed mentality, then you've got the scarcity mentality. And the scarcity mentality is a bad mentality to have, because there's an abundance of things in the world that you just can't imagine how much there is that we haven't even tapped into. I mean, just imagine 6, 7 years ago, did you ever think that you would tap on your phone to get a car from someone like in an Uber or a Lyft? I mean, didn't even exist.
Right.
Now they're billion-dollar companies, you know, Instacart, DoorDash. Just name some of the things that we now just literally take for granted. At least here in San Francisco, we take all cool things for granted. But, you know, I mean, even, you know, look at Amazon buying Instacart. I think they bought Instacart. So now they bought Whole Foods. So now, you know, you get your Whole Foods delivered. So there's just so much opportunity. And when you open yourself up to what that opportunity is, and like you said, you know, be of service. What does your community need? That's the biggest thing I've seen that's changed a lot of young people in a lot of communities. I mean, why not, you know, meet the needs of where you're at? Don't worry about, you know, globalism or like trying to figure out how to be this huge, massive company. Just like solve the problem where you're at, you know? And
yeah, but they get caught in that rabbit hole though. Like you think about Uber, they go, yeah, but Uber screws over all their drivers and they have an $80 million lawsuit and they didn't even pay the drivers the money in it. So they're in trouble for it. They admitted that they did it. They admitted that they're wrong, but nothing happens to them. Oh, and Amazon, they bought all the cool people. Instacart was cool, but then you get gobbled up. And so you're like, okay. You are going down the path of just negativity, you know, until you're just going to be fetal on the floor, because how can you possibly change all of that? Well, guess what? You can't. But if you turn off all these devices, you know, turn them off, then the world's a much different place. You know, it really is. It isn't like what you hear. So go out and, you know, get the sun on your face.
No, totally. I mean, the same thing with like Instagram, you know. Facebook buys Instagram. Now it's completely changed. And now they're going to say, hey, you know, we may need to break you guys up because you're not living an ethos. You're not in our best interest. And so even though you see a lot of technology, and it's almost always technology that scales too fast, that really inundates ourselves with all of these distractions, these digital distractions, usually it corrects. And the reason it usually corrects is because, one, people get angry and they you know, try really hard to organize around certain things. I mean, the Me Too movement is an example. Literally that escalated because of Uber's literal lack of treating women engineers with respect and dignity. And, you know, that was pervasive within the culture. Everyone knew it. It took a brave woman to say, this is not cool. And then literally is a firestorm. And that's going to change the world. And it has changed the world, and it will continue to change the world. Because look, you can't hide anymore, right? Yeah. We're so connected that if you're a bad actor, eventually things will happen to you. You cannot, I mean, you shouldn't do this anyway, because I mean, you should be ethical and inclusive and try to do the best you can and, you know, do out for the greater good. But I mean, you're going to get caught. You can't not get caught. And
I think that's
people
what's
have a choice.
upsetting our youth is the millennial youth, is they haven't seen, as older people have, the bad people get caught. And I just want to say, just wait, because it does happen every single time. Yeah. It's a terrible karma, and it will get them. You know, they just see people, you know, whatever, and you've got to say, well, you know, again, it does happen. But you're really going to let worry over that prevent you from going up and opening up an accounting, you know, tax office, because you're, you know, go ahead and compete with HR Bot, because people want personalized service.
Oh yeah. I tell people all the time, it's like, they're like, oh, well, blah, 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 massive companies in it. I'm like, good. They'll screw it up and then you can pick it up. I mean, there's no way they're going to outcompete you. No way they're going to outcompete you. There's just no way, because you're just so nimble. And I think that's part of the you know, the attitude and the, you know, the traits, values, and beliefs that entrepreneurs have, that it's scary to a lot of people, is this unknown. It's you're out in the wilderness just trying to figure it out. And if you're not comfortable with being uncomfortable, then this is a tough job for you. And so what I always try to tell people is, it's never as bad as it seems. If you're trying hard and being ethical and, you know, doing what you can do, you can always, you know, hustle up something to do, but more importantly, you really be comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling. And I don't think a lot of today's youth, certain types of today's youth, are really comfortable with failure, comfortable with, I don't really know the answer. What do I check in the box? It's like, damn, there's no one knows the answer. Go figure it out. And I think that's a big thing that I try to instill in people, because again, I mean, you're gonna, failure, it's an option, but it's never the final result. I mean, you may go on to do something else. It may not be your time. You know what? It may just be bad luck, because that happens. It might not be because of name every other excuse. It just could be like, you know what? No one wants to buy your stuff. Sometimes that happens. Don't get discouraged. It happens to me all the time. I mean, come on,
And I'm laughing, right? Yeah, but you're like invented things. How many things you invented? You have 10 patents. What did you invent, by the way?
Oh, lots of different things. That was mostly when I was practicing electrical engineer. So I invented a lot of semiconductor circuits, the things that go in computer chips. One of them was a way to reduce power. Another one was a wireless system to track medical tubes. Another one was a DNA sequencing semiconductor chip. You can sequence your full genome in a couple of hours. So really, highly technical stuff. Totally not what I do now. Yeah, I know. It sounds smart. Really not. It's sort of my job.
You're so smart, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm just like super diligent and hardworking, and like if I need to figure something out, I just have to go figure it out. And chances are, what's interesting about patents, everyone's like, oh wow, patents, they sound so cool. If you've spent a couple of days trying to figure something out, chances are it's patentable. And so it's like, I would spend months trying to figure these things out, and they're like, oh yeah, I should file a patent. And these were at corporations, so okay, yeah, how do I do that? And they're like, oh, just talk to the lawyer, he'll figure it out. And so they would take down my idea. And yeah, I mean, it's really great, and it's wonderful to be, creative and inventive. And, part of being an entrepreneur is creating something from nothing. We're, entrepreneurs, I like to think, are practical creatives, because it takes a lot of creativity to invent something from nothing, or take an idea and make it better, or, you name it. It doesn't even matter what it is. It could be as, dull as picking up garbage, but you pick up garbage in a different way, and people like it, people pay for it. You got yourself a business.
Do you think that's part of why you've had success as an entrepreneur? It's just basically, being in it and just finding a way around and doing something unique?
Oh yeah. I mean, entrepreneurship's just straight ahead blue collar work. 99% of the time, it's just grind it out. It's not that inventive. Okay, maybe 5% of the time it's inventive and creative, but it's a lot of blue collar work. I mean, it's like that just hard work ethic of like, I mean, I've been at startups where it's like, hey, I'm the founder. We're venture backed, but we're running out of money. So go clean out the toilet. Got to clean the bathroom because we can't afford it. Or, we got to double up in a room, or, hey, we got to sit down and build all our little sensors because we can't afford to go, outsource it. Okay, I'm going to spend half a day gluing cases together. I mean, I'm the COO of a company and I'm gluing cases. It's like, doesn't matter. I mean, it's like anything, the real blue collar work ethic is, I think, the most important thing to instill in entrepreneurs. I mean, same thing with authors, right? Everyone says, oh, you wrote all these books. It's like, well, yeah, just because I sat down and wrote the damn book. It wasn't like it was magic. I sat down and write it. Just like you're going to build a fence, you're going to dig a ditch. What do? You dig the ditch. It's maybe creative, but it's doing the work. I just, I can think about it all I want. I can have 1,000 different great ideas, but until I do something with the idea, it's worthless.
I love the way that you have a very interesting mix. Like, okay, so for my HR background, like, man, you're almost half and half, left and right, because you have the engineering mindset, but then you also have this creative, so right now you're at a PR company, right?
Yeah. I know.
So you do PR marketing, which is just complete creative. And then you've got this engineer that's like sitting there going, I just need to follow through and do all the work, which is like complete opposite of, let's come up with this new way to say the same thing, to describe the color orange. And we got to figure out a new way to do that,
Yeah. PR and marketing is a bit hocus pocus, touchy feely, you know. What's really, you know, brilliant about like what I do now is I help startups tell better stories about their technology. As everyone knows, you know, most technology people, they can get in the weeds on what they do in the tech, and then no one understands it. I mean, even I have a technical degree and I'm sometimes don't get it. So what I try to do is really help them be able to explain it to their grandmother. I mean, that's my, like, grandma needs to understand this because grandma loves you and grandma will probably nod, but she'll also say, honey, I don't understand what you do. And she'll be honest with you. And grandmothers are like the best source of wisdom throughout all of time. I mean, grandfathers are too, but grandmothers mostly talk to you, and grandfathers traditionally are like, you know,
pull my finger.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Not to say that not all grandfathers do that, but I'm just saying, you know, when it comes to the story that I tell everyone, you got to explain to your grandmother. So and that's a really important concept to understand, especially in PR and storytelling, because, you know, the thing that's the most important, and not even, I mean, technology isn't important. It's like whoever can tell the better story will win, even if the technology is not as good. And so I get asked all the time, oh, well, why aren't we getting traction? Why aren't we getting product market fit? You know, we don't understand what our minimum viable product, I mean, all the buzzword bingo you can think of. And when it boils down to it, it's like, well, no one understands what you do. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm just like, you know, 25-cent words, long acronyms, all these. I'm like, okay, look, like I get it, but no one else gets it. That's your problem. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of fell into this, and I fell into it because I met and married a wonderful woman named Jane, who unfortunately passed away from leukemia a couple of years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And so I continued on her legacy. This was originally her company, and when she got sick, I stopped doing my startup and started running JSY and was her caregiver. And, you know, she taught me all I know about PR. And the book, I wrote the book, started writing the book when she was sick. She never got to read the final version, but, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, she was a minority woman entrepreneur, and she just wanted to make sure that like the next thing I did, because, you know, she's always like, well, you're the tall white guy, you get all the breaks. And I'm like, you know how hard, even for, you know how hard this is? You know how many times I've been rejected? I've done 100 pitches, like to VC, you know, like 3 or 4 of them have given me money. Like that's really bad odds. And I'm still the tall white guy, you know, anyway. So she would give me, I mean, we tease each other a lot. Cause I mean, she was just this tour de force, and she, you know, wanted me to write a book about why a community of entrepreneurs needs to step it up and raise the bar and start giving back and really stop being so like self-centered and externally metric focused on how much you've raised and your company, blah, 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 and start really like, you know, teaching these young kids. And the reason why she wanted me to do that, and what she did in her business, is she used to run, in which I still do, I'm still involved with, professional athlete foundations. And most of those focus on helping kids from where they came from. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of those players come from places that are poor, poverty, and don't have opportunity. So it was a real eye opener, you know, when she said, yeah, you know, these players really want to give back, and how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, they do football camps and baseball camps and basketball camps, and that's cool. But she's like, we should teach them how to be entrepreneurs. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. I mean, that's probably a bad idea, but hey, well, it sounds like fun. And maybe we'll help some people. And we did. And so then the Entrepreneur Ethos book was born, and, you know, what we were doing with all sorts of communities, and we're trying to do more of. And, you know, I mentioned the Brian Hamilton Foundation a little before, and what they're doing is fantastic. They've got a lot of programs for free online to help kids be entrepreneurs. And so, you know, there's a movement afoot, I think, that entrepreneurs like yourselves are going to step up, start teaching the next generation, start really bringing together this wonderful opportunity for anyone. I mean anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Black, brown, white, yellow, green, purple, whatever your pronoun is. It doesn't matter. Fundamentals of what communities need, your community needs, they need entrepreneurs to provide that.
Yeah, and I think it's a mindset to get them of service, but it's hard with the echo chamber social media where it's just me, how I look, me. And it's not fulfilling for them. So no. I can see that there is a big difference generationally between like my son's age, who all of his friends have a phone. He doesn't want a phone. He's like, why? They just stare at it all the time. I want to be outside. So he's like, I'm like, I don't want to get one.
That's winning on the mom front. You're like parent of the year.
I don't know. Like he doesn't want to hang out with, like he'll just sit outside and I'll just go sit next to him. And I'm like, are you mad? Are you this? No, I'm just enjoying it. Okay. Wow. So we're having to go through like that because he's just so, he doesn't, I guess what I've said has come through. Like, don't look for anything in this device. It's totally. He had an iPad when he was little. We played Plants vs. Zombies. I beat it so many times. I love Plants vs. Zombies, right? So we had all of that stuff. But then it's like, now what? It doesn't serve you. What serves you is being of service to others or finding out yourself or, doing these other things. And I believe that Gen Z is a generation that is going to turn all of this on its head.
Oh yeah,
as far as
I agree.
We're going with these megalith tech and everything else. I just have a feeling like his generation, they're very differently motivated, and I love it. I'm just like, I'm so into this now,
Yeah, absolutely. I have 10-year-old twins, and they like their tablet, I have to say, but they aren't on social media at all. And so, they aren't really caring what other people are doing and things like that. So I think there's definitely a generation where we'll probably get away from social media, which I think will be positive for everybody, where we can actually utilize all this technology for good things, and do, and that, I think it was originally created to do good things. It just, some people just got wrapped up in the whole social keeping up with the Joneses type of stuff.
and the money, right? I mean,
money.
Some of the biggest companies nowadays are all in that space, and they are optimizing their platform to make money. It's obvious. I mean, and so we gotta take it back. I mean, that's the reason why I like talking to people in person, like, God forbid, even though I'm a highly functional introvert that does PR, which is crazy, but it's like, these are the conversations we have to have. And I think we can own it. I mean, even, I'm Gen X, so, my Slacker generation, we sort of didn't kind of grow up, digital native, as they say. And, we're one of the smaller generations, coming right behind us, Gen Y, then Gen Z. You're going to see, I think, a sea change in culture, and it's a great thing. I mean, we got to get back to the point where we build strong communities where we can rely on each other and that we know each other. And social media is great, and that can be an extension, but there's so much noise and so much gaming and so many algorithms that make us mad at each other. I've never met someone, even, it didn't even matter where they're from on whatever ideological spectrum. When you sit down to a meal and you start talking, we're like all the same. We all have the same fears and anxieties, and they talk about their kids and what they're doing. And they all want the same thing. They just want a life that is safe for their family and that they enjoy. I mean, everyone wants that. I mean, it doesn't even matter who you are. Fundamental. So hopefully we'll get back to that.
I hope so too. So. Well, guys, we've been, sorry.
Oh, well, one of the things I thought would be interesting with technology is having virtual communities. I mean, now we're more connected. I mean, we're on a video here. We're in 3 different places in the US. So
it's pretty cool.
I think the virtual community actually can become more in person, like we're doing right now, is having these discussions of positive change using technology. So that's one of the things I think that the future probably holds for the future generations, because they're so used to this kind of stuff.
Good point. Really good point.
I think so too. But I was going to say, I hate to wrap it up. We've been talking to Jarie Bolander, but then we could talk to him forever, obviously. Yeah. And he is the author of the book, The Entrepreneur Ethos. And he is also the owner of PR Maven at JSY PR and Marketing. Now, we're going to put all of his links, the link to his book. You can go on to Amazon and look it up, The Entrepreneur Ethos, and go buy his book. Or just go out today and think about how you can be of service and do something a little cool. Or just say, you know what? I'm going to start that business. I'm going to go out to that franchise expo and I'm going to just think about it or whatever and just make the leap. Now's the time to do it if there's ever the time. So guys, we're going to wrap up now unless you have a final thought. Jared, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, really appreciate chatting with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Everyone out there that wants to be an entrepreneur, just try it. Little downside to trying. I mean, huge amount of upside if you make it. And it's fun. And then you get to talk to a bunch of cool people like you two. So what more could you want?
That's right.
Yeah, and you get to feel free. And that is a great feeling.
Yes. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose, right?
That's right. I love that song. So anyway, guys, again, we're on everywhere. You're already listening to us. So whether it's on iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher or Google Play or radio.com or wherever, we're everywhere. So just keep on listening. We're going to have more people in the future. But for right now, we're going to say bye to the incredible Jarie Bolander, author of The Entrepreneur Ethos. And we'll have all the links for you. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us at Leafy Podcast. Bye-bye.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit LeafyLegalServices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. LeafyLegalServices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.